You know, school is supposed to be a safe space for every kid to learn and grow. But for way too many, it just isn't. The Department of Education has just rolled out a major new policy designed to change that. And today, we're going to break down exactly what it is and what it means for students, parents, and teachers. All right, let's get into it.
So, to really grasp why this is such a huge deal, you have to start with this one number, 65%. According to the 2018 PISA results, a staggering 65% of Filipino learners reported experiencing bullying. I mean, just think about that. That's nearly 2 out of every 3 students. This isn't just data on a page. It's a massive call to action.
And that really brings us to the core question here. When you have a problem that's this widespread, you need a fundamental change. So, what exactly does that change look like?
Now, before we jump into the brand new rules, we kind of have to understand the old system. See, the reason for this massive overhaul wasn't a lack of trying. It was a lack of a unified approach. For years, the policies for protecting kids were just all over the place. We're talking scattered across dozens of different memos, different orders, and as you can imagine, that just created a ton of confusion. You had overlapping initiatives and a real lack of coherence. It was basically a patchwork system trying to solve a systemic problem.
So, to fix all this, the Department of Education basically decided to hit the reset button. The plan? Create one single comprehensive framework for school safety. And here it is. This is DepEd Order Number 6, Series of 2026. The official title is Guidelines on Ensuring a Safe and Motivating Learning Environment. This single document is now the master plan, the go-to guide for child protection in all schools, both public and private.
So the key word here is consolidation. The main goal of this new order is to harmonize, to supplement, and to clarify everything that came before. No more digging through ancient documents. This is now the single source of truth when it comes to school safety.
And this really shows you just how outdated the old system was. I mean, we're talking about finally replacing rules on hazing that were written back in 1954. And that jumbled mess of cell phone and, get this, pager policies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This isn't just a small update, it's a complete modernization for today's world.
Okay, so what's actually in this new policy? Let's get to the core of the order and see how it builds this new system for protecting our students.
This right here, this is the heart of it all. It's called the ESMLE framework. It stands for Ensuring a Safe and Motivating Learning Environment. Now, I know, this looks really complex, but trust me, the idea behind it is actually pretty simple and makes a lot of sense.
See, it all boils down to 2 basic ideas. First, you do everything you can to prevent harm from ever happening. And second, if something does happen, you have a clear, structured way to respond. Prevention and response. That's the whole model. Simple, right?
All right, let's zoom in on that first pillar, prevention. This is all about being proactive. It's about creating a school culture where things like abuse, bullying, and violence are way less likely to even start.
And here are the actual tools schools are going to use to do that. Every single school will have a learner handbook and a code of conduct, so the expectations are crystal clear. They'll also create their own localized anti-bullying policies and run constant education and awareness campaigns. It's all about building a solid foundation of respect and safety.
Now, this is interesting. The policy uses the specific term LRP concerns. It stands for Learner Rights and Protection. And what it is this big umbrella term that covers everything, and I mean everything, from physical violence and bullying to discrimination and emotional abuse. The scope is intentionally broad, which is a good thing, because it aims to protect students from all kinds of harm. But, of course, prevention isn't foolproof. So what happens when an LRP concern actually comes up? Well, that's where the second half of the framework, response, kicks in. The new policy lays out a really clear 4-step standard operating procedure. So when an incident happens, schools have to conduct a risk assessment, make sure it's reported properly, follow specific rules for referring the case to experts if needed, and finally, conduct a formal investigation. It's a structured process, which should bring a lot more fairness and efficiency to the table.
So who's in charge of this whole process? That would be the Child Protection Committee, or the CPC. Every school is required to have one. And what's really crucial here is who's on it. It's not just administrators making decisions in an office somewhere. The policy mandates that the committee includes teachers, parents, and even student representatives. This is all about building trust and making sure it's a community-based approach to solving problems.
Okay, so we've looked at the framework.
But how does all this policy stuff actually affect the day-to-day lives of students, parents, and the school staff? Let's make it practical.
All right, let's break down the 4 biggest takeaways for everyone. First, that learner handbook, it's now your essential guide. It tells you your rights and exactly how to report things, so get to know it. Second, and this is a big one for a lot of people, cell phone use is now officially prohibited during class time for both students and staff. That's to cut down on distractions and protect privacy. Third, parents are now officially considered partners, so you should expect your school to involve you more in safety programs. And finally, and this is so important, confidentiality is an absolute must in all cases. This is designed to make sure people feel safe coming forward, which has been a huge barrier in the past.
So, this new policy gives everyone a really powerful and, most importantly, a unified framework. But let's be real, a document by itself can't create a safe culture. The real change happens when everyone, students, parents, teachers, and administrators, understands their part and actually works together. So the question this leaves us with is, how can each of us help make that a reality?